Chapter 47-49. Qin Xian's voice was very soft. Uncle said that Auntie is sick. I want to take a look. He Huan smiled. Little fool, aren't you afraid of getting infected? Qin Mo shook his head vigorously. He looked a little silly and cute. He Huan's feelings became even stronger. She reached out to touch Momo, the soft child, but she was afraid that her illness would spread to him, so her hand stopped in midair. Qin Xian probably knew what she was thinking, so he actually leaned his little head over and rubbed against her hand a few times, like a delicate and furry toy. He Huan's palm felt very soft. She was still stroking his hair, and her voice was very gentle. Where's Uncle? Uncle is having a meeting in the study. I'm accompanying Auntie, Qin Xian said very sensibly. He Huan sat up. I'm fine. Now, let's go downstairs and eat something delicious, okay? Qin Xian looked at her. Auntie, eat. I'll have dinner later. He Huan casually put on a casual home jacket. She turned her head and saw Qin Xian's longing expression. Let's eat something first and then have dinner together, okay? Qin Xian nodded vigorously and said yes. When they went downstairs, they saw that Enchanting had returned with Yi Huan. Qin Mo's meeting was also over, so there was no afternoon snack and they went straight to dinner. Because of this, Qin Xian was a little disappointed. It was probably because he didn't have many opportunities to do this. The mistress that the maid took care of was not around for a long time, so he naturally didn't have good treatment. He Huan knew that he was disappointed, so she personally went to the kitchen to pick a few desserts for the children to eat after dinner. Of course, she also picked one for herself. Qin Mo raised his eyebrows and glanced at her, a little amused. Actually, he was raising 4 children. But now it was a good thing that He Huan wanted to eat, which meant that everything was fine. With so many children, although he treasured them, the one he treasured the most was the person who slept with him. At night, when the kids were ready, Qin Mo discussed with He Huan. We have a lot of kids at home. Enchanting and Yi Huan are fine, but Qin Xian, we should hire a personal assistant. It'll be easier to take care of him. For example, picking her up, taking care of her daily life, and many other things could be done. He Huan was sitting on the bed. She had been playing games, but when she heard Qin Mo's words, she immediately looked up. Why? Didn't you say that you would take care of it yourself? In this case, what's the difference between it and Ijia? Of course. Qin Mo pinched her little face, sat next to her, and took away the phone from her hand. We just take care of Qin Xian when we don't have time. Most of the time, we take care of him ourselves or play with Yi Huan. He Huan didn't say anything. Qin Mo knew that she was unhappy, so he put his arm around her shoulders. Listen to me. You're not in good health, neither is Qin Xian. This arrangement is better, okay? After a long time, He Huan finally agreed in a low voice. Then, she looked up and said softly, Qin Mo, I'm the same as Qin Xian. Is there any difference? Qin Mo laughed. How can it be compared to being together? It's not the same at all, okay? You're my wife, and Qin Xian is a junior. How can they be compared? I just feel like I'm doing nothing at home every day. He Huan's voice became even softer, revealing a little lack of confidence. Chapter 47-50. Qin Mo was surprised. Isn't he a 3.5 billion yuan director? Then, he revealed a wide smile. The dividends are enough for me to eat until I'm old. Where's the money? He Huan stretched out her fair hand. Where's the money? Qin Mo's smile deepened. I'll take care of my children and my wife. It's hard to take care of so many people. He Huan's eyes widened. What? Why don't you give me my money? Because you're a little silly now. You need the adults to take care of it. He chuckled and pinched her nose. What do you need the money for? He Huan glared at him. A woman needs money to feel safe. She bit her lip. Ai Jia gave birth to a child. I heard that I don't have that many shares under my name. Qin Mo, you're too stingy. I've had a child too. She was being unreasonable, but she had the right to argue with him. Qin Mo's voice was low. That's because you still have me. Even though they had divorced, he still couldn't let her go. Qin Mo couldn't believe it when he recalled their divorce. What had he been thinking to let go of her hand? He Huan glanced at him. Now you're saying nice things. Where were you back then? Are you settling accounts now, Mrs. Qin? Qin Mo said with amusement, when did you become such a money grubber? You're not like that aloof director. He Huan snorted. Of course money is a good thing. What about me? Real estate. Isn't it important in your eyes? Qin Mo moved closer to her and pressed the tip of his nose against hers. He Huan snorted again. Money has attributes, but real estate doesn't. She said in a strange tone, maybe you won't be mine one day. So unconfident. Qin Mo chuckled. It's not like you. He Huan looked up into his dark eyes. She bit her lip and didn't say anything at first. Then she said in a low voice, I admit that I mind Ai Jia. I think you're too nice to her. Qin Mo sighed helplessly. It's all for Qin Xian. It's not a good thing to have such a mother. The child's heart is too fragile. He Huan couldn't help but say, but don't you think it's unfair to those innocent people, me, Ai Meng Meng, or even more people just to take care of Qin Xian's feelings? What Ai Jia did is not even enough for her to spend 30 years in prison. What you're doing now is enough for you to exchange everything in the land of Qin for Qin Xian. Ai Jia got the money, so she should pay the price for what she did. If anything can be achieved with conditions. It was rare for He Huan to behave like this. Even though Ai Meng Meng had wronged Yi Huan in the past, He Huan still chose to let it go. Subconsciously, He Huan always felt that a crazy woman like Ai Jia was a ticking time bomb. Qin Mo shouldn't have let her go. If feelings were omnipotent, what was the use of the law? The law was a place other than feelings. It was impossible for Qin Mo not to know that. In He Huan's opinion, Qin Mo was too impulsive in dealing with this matter. But if she firmly opposed or directly said that she would send Ai Jia to prison, on one hand, it would seem that she was heartless to Qin Xian. On the other hand, it would seem that she was stingy. He Huan didn't want to say it, but she couldn't help it. Chapter 47-51. From He Huan's point of view, Qin Mo was too impulsive in dealing with this matter. However, if she were to oppose it or say that she would send Ai Jia to jail, it would seem that she was heartless to Qin Xian. On the other hand, it would seem that she was stingy. He Huan didn't want to say it, but she couldn't help it. Qin Mo was silent for a long time before he said softly, I really can't bear to tell Qin Xian that his mother is a bad person and is in jail. It was too cruel for a child. Moreover, the one who sent Ai Jia to jail was the person who would take care of him in the future. After saying that, Qin Mo was in a bad mood. He patted her lightly and said, I'm going to smoke. He walked out after saying that. He Huan didn't even have time to call him. After he left, she sat on the bed alone. She wanted to play games, but she really wasn't in the mood. She felt a little annoyed. On the one hand, she regretted saying this to Qin Mo. On the other hand, she felt that what he did was wrong. She was a little annoyed. Qin Emo smoked a few cigarettes in the study. In fact, Huan was right. In this matter, he didn't consider other people's feelings. He ignored Ai Meng Meng, Rongyu, and even Huan's feelings. He despicably brought Qin Xian back first and let Huan accept and like him. Huan didn't realize it until later. He sighed softly and thought of Qin Lu. He also knew that he had gone too far. Although Qin Xian was Qin Lu's child, he was also Ai Jia's child. He and Huan had a bad relationship for many years because of Ai Jia. She didn't remember it, but if she remembered it one day, she might not forgive him. Qin Emo let out a long sigh. He put away the cigarette in his hand and went back to the bedroom. It was already 10:30 p.m. Huan was still awake. She wasn't playing with her phone either. She was just spacing out. He called out to her and walked over. "You're still awake?" Huan looked at him and smiled faintly. "Did I go too far just now? I shouldn't have said that." If Qin Xian heard it, he would be very sad. Qin Emo just reached out to stroke her hair. "You're right. I didn't handle it well. I was only thinking about whether Qin Xian would be sad or not. I didn't care about your feelings." As he spoke, he rested his head against hers. He didn't say anything, just leaned against her in silence. Huan could not help but ask him, "Can you erase anything that Ai Jia did?" Qin Emo looked at her quietly. Huan looked down and said after a long time, "I understand." She knew that she was a little emotional and unreasonable, but she couldn't help but ask. It was too sad to keep it in his heart. She was even more afraid that Ai Jia would become a shareholder of King Entertainment. He would pester Qin Emo in the future and use Qin Xian to ruin their lives. Ai Jia could do anything, but Qin Emo let her go. Huan was troubled. She was no longer an 18-year-old girl who lost her memory. She felt a little annoyed and ignored Qin Emo for a few days. President Qin was in a bad mood. He had a bad temper in King Entertainment. He only toned it down a little when he saw Rongyu in the afternoon. Rongyu came over to talk to him and signed a contract. He then smiled. "Why do you look so bad?" Qin Emo looked at the contract and closed it. Everyone in the Qin family has failed to match. Also, Huan did not really understand him. He could understand that, but if it were him, he would not be able to accept it. Huan could take care of Qin Xian, but she was conflicted. Why did he help Ai Jia? Ai Jia should be punished by the law. Chapter 4752. After Qin Emo said that, Rongyu was stunned for a moment, then he repeated, "All of them." Qin Emo nodded. "All of them." He was a little annoyed and lit a cigarette. After taking a puff, he looked at Rongyu. "Do you want one?" Rongyu thought about it and asked for one, but he didn't smoke it. Qin Emo could understand. Rongyu's health wasn't good, and Ai Meng Meng probably didn't allow him to smoke. Once a man got married, there would be restrictions. In the smoke, Rongyu said softly, "There's one more person." "Ha!" Qin Emo looked at him. Rongyu smiled faintly and even a little bitterly. "President Qin, you forgot that Qin Xian isn't just related to the Qin family. There's also the Ai family." The Ai family's parents had passed away, and Ai Jia's bone marrow wasn't compatible. There was only Ai Meng Meng. Qin Emo paused and looked at Rongyu. "You. Will Ai Meng Meng be willing?" Rongyu's smile faded and he said slowly, "I only have one condition." Qin Emo looked at him, feeling a little uneasy. As expected, Rongyu said, "If you need Ai Meng Meng's bone marrow, then we'll have custody of Qin Xian." President Qin, I only have one condition. Qin Mo was a little angry. But this is the condition I'm most unwilling to agree to. It might not be a good match. If it's a good match, President Qin, then you can think about it. Rongyu had been calm, as if he wasn't talking about a child, but a normal contract. Qin Mo stared at him for a long time before he frowned slightly. I didn't realize that you were eloquent in negotiations before. Rongyu was quite humble. President Qin, you flatter me. Qin Mo's gaze was still meaningful. You know whether I'm flattering you or not. Alright, I'll wait for your news. Everyone knew that Ai Meng Meng might not be willing, and even if she was willing, she might not be willing to raise Ai Jia's child, unless, at this time, Qin Mo suddenly stopped Rongyu. Wait a minute. Rongyu stopped at the door and turned to look at Qin Mo. Qin Mo stood up from behind his desk and slowly walked towards Rongyu. He was about the same height as Rongyu, but Qin Mo was much stronger than Rongyu. It was not that Qin Mo had a lot of muscles, but Rongyu was too thin, so there was a big difference in their aura. Qin Mo said softly, I think Rongyu, you must have other conditions, right? Rongyu lowered his eyes. No expression could be seen on his handsome face, but his long eyelashes were gently trembling. Who was Qin Mo? At this moment, he almost guessed it, but for the sake of Qin Xian's life, everything else had to be put aside. Qin Mo's voice was hoarse. Let's talk about it later, right? Rongyu smiled faintly again and then walked out. Qin Mo was left alone in the office. He lit another cigarette and let out a long puff. He furrowed his brows again. Perhaps Huan was right. He cared too much about Qin Lu and Qin Xian, so he was too lenient towards Ai Jia. On the other hand, Rongyu did not have much affection for this child, so he could intuitively make a judgment and choice. It was very simple and logical, but he did not see it clearly, and it was difficult for him to choose. Qin Mo was alone in silence for a while. He was not in the mood to report when secretary he came in. He raised his hand lightly and said, Leave it here, I'll look at it later. Secretary he nodded and agreed. He had a feeling that President Qin had some ulterior motives. Chapter 4753. Memorized. Qin Mo was alone for a while. He wasn't in the mood for Secretary He's report. He raised his hand indifferently. Leave it here. I'll read it later. Secretary he nodded. He had a feeling that President Qin was up to something. When Qin Mo returned to the villa, the children had returned from school. Qin Xian hadn't gone to school yet. He had planned to go to school after his body recovered from the surgery. However, the bone marrow hadn't been matched yet. Huan and Qin Xian didn't know about this. Qin Chen had only told him. Qin Chen wasn't in a good mood at the time. After all, Qin Xian was Qin Lu's child. Qin Mo returned home. He took off his coat and threw it on the sofa. He rubbed his brows and sat down. Little Qin Xian appeared out of nowhere. He had a cup of hot tea in his hand. He was so well behaved that it made people's hearts ache. Qin Mo moved his hand away and looked at the child silently. Qin Xian sat next to him, his slender legs swinging under the sofa. He didn't say anything. They stayed in silence for a long time. Little son couldn't take it anymore and spoke first. I know it's good enough that I'm alive now. It's okay if there's no other way. Qin Mo stared at him and said softly, Who told you that? He said honestly, Those aunties and nurses. I can understand them in English and French. Little Qin Xian's voice was sullen. Qin Mo reached out and hugged him gently. He pressed his little face against him and smiled. That was in the past. It's different now. You have Aunt Chin now, right? But I know there's no suitable bone marrow, little Qin Xian said softly. Qin Mo's voice was slightly stifled. Who told you that? Qin Xian didn't answer the question. Uncle is in a bad mood. Qin Mo paused for a moment and then sighed. This child is really sensitive. He forced a smile and wanted to say that it was not what he thought, but after he smiled, he knew that he could not hide it from this sensitive child. In the end, he just ruffled his hair and said, Uncle will think of another way. Suddenly, Qin Xian reached out and hugged his waist. Qin Xian's voice was very soft. Uncle, I'm fine. What he had now was already a lot. It was really enough. Even if he could only live for another half a year, he would have a home in half a year. He had what other children had. He thought that if one day, he couldn't live anymore, he would call for his parents, but only once. Otherwise, if he really died, they would be very sad. After hearing Qin Xian's words, Qin Mo felt even sadder. He felt that no matter what, he wanted Qin Xian to live. Even if the child was disappointed in him and hated him in the end, he still wanted him to live. At this moment, He Huan was quietly watching this scene from the staircase on the second floor. Just now, she had called Qin Chen and asked him, and Qin Chen had told her. Everyone in the Qin family was not good enough for Qin Xian. He Huan looked down and her eyes were a little red. She walked down slowly until she reached Qin Mo's side. She hugged him from behind and pressed her face against his shoulder. Her voice was a little hoarse. There's still one more person who is not a match. Qin Mo turned his head. I know, it's Ai Meng Meng. He Huan shook her head. No, it's Yi Huan. Qin Mo was a little shocked. He had never thought of letting Yi Huan go or even donate her bone marrow, but Yi Huan actually suggested it. Didn't Yi Huan hate Ai Jia? Chapter 47-54. He suddenly felt his mouth go dry. He licked his lips. I thought, Yi Huan was still hugging him and said in a low voice, I want Qin Xian to live well. Qin Xian was also stunned. He said instinctively, it'll hurt a lot. Yi Huan didn't say anything. She just touched his little head gently and didn't say anything. Qin Mo closed his eyes slightly and said in a hoarse voice, Yi Huan, I'll feel sorry for him. Me too, Yi Huan said softly. However, in her heart, it was only right for her to treat Qin Xian well, and it was only right for Ai Jia to be punished. Qin Mo was trapped in his guilt towards Qin Lu and seemed to be unable to extricate himself. Qin Xian was very young, sensitive and fragile, but these weren't reasons to let Ai Jia go. In other words, Qin Xian's existence showed that Ai Jia was a complete lunatic. How could Qin Mo think that Ai Jia would let go after getting benefits? She was the one who gave birth to the child, so she would always take advantage of it. Sending him to prison was the best for Qin Xian's growth, even if he had to bear a little psychological trauma. But Yi Huan couldn't tell Qin Mo about this. If she did, they would quarrel. Even if he didn't say it, she knew in her heart that Qin Mo's tolerance for Ai Jia came from luck. He was lucky that there was a Qin Xian in this world to make up for it. She also felt sorry for Qin Xian, but the more she felt sorry for Qin Xian, the more she felt that Ai Jia was crazy and unforgivable. At night, Qin Mo discussed this matter with Yi Huan again. Ai Meng Meng should be matched first. Yi Huan, I won't let Yi Huan go unless it's absolutely necessary. She's only a young lady and she's only a few years old. Yi Huan looked down. After a while, she smiled softly. Unless it's absolutely necessary. Qin Mo, I really think you. Qin Mo stared at her. You brought it up first. Yes, I was the one who suggested it. Yi Huan said indifferently, that's because I think Yi Huan has to do this if necessary. Qin Mo, Yi Huan and I did what we should do. Shouldn't you do what you should do too? Qin Mo was stunned. He studied Yi Huan's expression carefully and then narrowed his eyes. You have the same idea as Rong Yu. You want me to send Qin Xian's mother to prison with my own hands. How can we get along with him in the future? Yi Huan actually didn't want to argue with him about this, but she couldn't help it. Qin Xian, you heard what the teacher said. His knowledge is enough for him to go to high school. Don't treat him as a fragile object. You'll cause him to lose his judgment. If everyone makes a mistake, family can offset it. What else can the law do? Also, if you keep AI Jia, you're putting me, AI Meng Meng, Rong Yu, and even Yi Huan in danger. Qin Mo, it's not that I want to make things difficult for her, but, you're wrong. You're wrong. Yi Huan's voice was getting lower and lower, but it was also getting stronger. These days, she had been thinking a lot. Perhaps it was because she had lost her memory that her mind became simpler, so she could see things more clearly. Ai Jia was a madman, and Qin Mo indulged such a madman. After she finished speaking, Qin Mo looked at her quietly. So, you're like Rong Yu, exchanging for a match, am I right? He didn't care about Ai Jia, he only cared about Qin Xian. After he finished speaking, Yi Huan only felt that he was unreasonable. She held it in for a long time before she said in a low voice, if you must think that way, I'm not surprised that you and Ai Jia took care of Qin Xian together. Qin Mo, I know you feel guilty about Qin Xian, but have you ever thought that this and Ai Jia giving birth to Qin Xian are two different things? You don't owe Ai Jia or Qin Xian anything. Qin Xian was just an accident, and Qin Xian saved you because of brotherly love. It's the same reason why Yi Huan got matched. What I care about now is that you've placed a madman, a ticking time bomb beside us. She could hurt me, Yi Huan, I Meng Meng, or Rong Yu at any time. Qin Mo, do you understand? Qin Mo's voice was very calm. She got what she wanted. What she wanted was you. After Yi Huan finished speaking, she was also stunned. She didn't want to say this, and the 18-year-old Yi Huan didn't have this kind of awareness. However, she said it out of instinct. The air was dead silent. Qin Mo's dark eyes were emotionless. After a long time, he said bitterly, it's not like what you think. Yi Huan smiled faintly. Maybe. She lowered her head. Qin Mo, I suddenly feel very tired. I suddenly feel that our divorce and quarreling for a long time were all because of Ai Jia. I can't lie. I have such a big reaction to her. She must have been involved in our past, right? Qin Mo frowned. There's nothing between me and her that you think. Yes. But you allowed her to exist in our lives, and your permission allowed her to hurt me. And Yi Huan, wasn't Ai Jia the one who arranged Ai Mingming's appearance? Yi Huan said quietly all of a sudden, Qin Mo, I remember everything. Qin Mo was stunned on the spot. He stared at Yi Huan and said after a long time, you remember? Yes, I remember everything. Yi Huan's voice was a little hoarse. Yi Huan's voice was a little hoarse. I remember everything, including how Ai Jia got someone to push me down and make me lose my memory. That's why I changed my mind. The 33-year-old Yi Huan is much more ruthless than the 18-year-old Yi Huan, isn't it? Qin Mo reached out and grabbed her shoulder. But Yi Huan immediately broke away from his hand. She took a step back and looked at Qin Mo. You have something you can't let go of, Qin Mo, and I also have something I can't let go of. For me, I care about myself, Yi Huan, and Shinting. I can give up your company's shares and everything in the Qin family. Qin Emo stared at her and said slowly and coldly, you forgot to say that you can also give up on me, right? He Huan took a deep breath and smiled reluctantly. If it's necessary, yes. Qin Emo grabbed her wrist and lifted it up gently. Then, he said in a low voice, He Huan, can't you wait to leave when you remember everything? She smiled absent-mindedly, but her eyes were watery. He didn't remember that when they reconciled, she told him not to have another woman, especially not Ai Jia. She remembered everything. Naturally, she couldn't accept that he let go of Ai Jia, a woman who had been stirring up trouble for so many years and had connived with her again and again. That was why she said that he could take care of Qin Xian with Ai Jia. It wasn't that she couldn't tolerate Qin Xian. On the contrary, she could take care of him. Even if it meant that Yi Huan had to suffer, she would save Qin Xian's life. However, principles were principles. If she couldn't understand them, then she couldn't. Yi Huan remembered that it had been a few days. She didn't tell him. She quietly tried to figure it out. She wanted to be with him emotionally and she wanted to understand him. But she failed. She still couldn't understand. Chapter 47-55. They looked at each other, neither of them willing to give in first. Especially Yi Huan. She remembered that when they were together, her condition was for him to stay away from Ai Jia. Why did everything change when Ai Jia gave birth to a son? She chuckled and said, Qin Mo, you're so smart. How can you not guess what Ai Jia is thinking? You're just pretending not to know. Do you think that you can pretend not to know? She'll use Qin Xian to get close to you in the future, and I can only bear with it. I know and bear with it. Qin Mo, you do care about Qin Xian's feelings, so you ignore my feelings. She choked as she spoke. She used to believe him when he said that she was his little darling. But now, she was just a so-so. Yi Huan didn't want to talk to him anymore. She took her pajamas and went to the bathroom, planning to take a shower and sleep. She wanted to sleep now and didn't want to think about these troubles. Qin Mo grabbed her hand again and said, Yi Huan, give me time. I don't want to. Yi Huan pursed her lips and said, Qin Mo, if I give in, you'll only move forward again and again. And I don't want to give in. She looked down and said, I can't tolerate some bottom lines. Qin Mo, let's calm down before you think of a better way. Calm down. Qin Mo suddenly calmed down and let go of her hand. Tell me, how do you plan to calm down? Are you going to leave with Yi Huan? It wasn't the first time she did this. Yi Huan looked up at him quietly and said, Enchanting. Qin Mo stared at her and said, aren't you going too far? Enchanting is my. You know what Enchanting wants, don't you? Yi Huan had regained her memory and her speech was much better. Qin Mo stared at her and said, you're really cruel. Yi Huan didn't say anything and just looked at him quietly. Qin Mo clenched his fists. I'll deal with it. It won't be like what you think. Yi Huan looked down and her expression loosened a little. Her voice was not as firm as before. She said softly, I don't know if I should believe you anymore. At this moment, although she was not as persistent as before, she felt a sense of dejection. Qin Mo reached out and gently rubbed her hair. His voice was very soft. Do I always disappoint you? Actually, Yi Huan could have avoided it, but she didn't. Qin Mo took a step forward and hugged her gently. His voice was very soft. Give me a little more time to settle this matter, okay? She didn't say anything, just frowned slightly. After a long while, her body was no longer as stiff as before. That night, Qin Mo sat alone in the study and smoked quietly. He thought about Rong Yu's words and Yi Huan's words. There seemed to be only one path in front of him. If Rong sent Ai Jia to prison, Qin Xian would be under their care. If he sent Ai Jia to prison, then Qin Xian would be under Rong Yu's care. That was probably what Rong Yu was trying to say. Qin Mo slowly took a puff of his cigarette and closed his eyes, thinking about what to do. After a long while, he let out a long breath. When he got up, it was already 2:00 in the morning. He went to Qin Xian's room. No matter what choice he made, it would be a huge blow to Qin Xian. It was already late that night and little Qin Xian had already fallen asleep. The dim yellow light shone on his little face, making him look even more peaceful. Qin Mo was sitting next to him. He reached out and gently touched Qin Mo's face. Just as he was about to leave, Qin Xian woke up. His pitch-black eyes stared quietly at Qin Mo. Chapter 47-56. Qin Mo looked at him quietly and touched his forehead. His voice was very gentle. Go back to sleep. You have to go to the hospital for a checkup tomorrow morning. Qin Xian closed his eyes obediently but opened them after a while. His gaze was very cautious. Uncle Qin, is my mother a bad person? Qin Mo's heart tightened. Then, his gaze became somewhat gentle. Why do you ask that? Qin Xian bit his lip. I heard from the nurse that my mother was arrested. The little boy suddenly sat up and his gaze was a little straight. Will she still go in? For a moment, Qin Mo actually didn't know how to answer Qin Xian's question. After all, this was a child who rarely saw his mother. And he had told He Huan to give him time to deal with it. After a long time, he whispered, Qin Xian, if she did something wrong, does she need to be punished? Qin Xian looked a little dazed. He nodded very slowly and suddenly shook his head after a while. Qin Mo stretched out his hand and gently stroked his hair. His voice was somewhat gentle. Maybe we can change the way we do it. Qin Xian looked at him quietly. Change the way we do it. He was too young, so he didn't understand very well. Qin Mo's fingers gently stroked his forehead. Let her go abroad. When you grow up, you can go find her. Qin Xian still looked at Qin Mo quietly. Qin Mo smiled slightly. Go to sleep. Adults can solve their problems, okay? He was about to leave when Qin Xian grabbed his cuff. His expression was a little hesitant and stubborn. Uncle, will it bring you trouble? Qin Mo's expression didn't change. No. But there was a bit of a sigh in his tone. Qin Xian hugged Qin Mo with his small body. He was very small, but he vaguely felt that he was a big trouble for Uncle Qin. Qin Mo reached out his hand and patted his little head. In the end, he didn't say anything. Qin Mo didn't sleep for the whole night. After visiting He Huan, he returned to the study and smoked half the night. When the sky was about to brighten, he returned to the master bedroom. He was surprised to see He Huan awake. She wasn't on the bed but sitting on the sofa in front of the French window, looking at the thin mist in the courtyard. Qin Mo walked over slowly. He Huan sat there without moving or turning her head. She just said softly, it seems that you've already made up your mind, haven't you? Qin Mo squatted beside her and said in a low voice, I'll send her overseas. She won't come back unless something happens. He Huan stared at him and smiled lightly. You thought about it for the whole night and made such a decision. Her voice was very soft. Ai Jia got someone to push me. If it was more serious, I might never wake up. She might be the murderer who killed me. Also, she treated Ai Meng like that. Now you want her to go abroad. Qin Mo, I really don't know what you're thinking. Qin Mo stared into her eyes. I just want Qin Xian's heart to be less hurt. He might not be able to, he's not as weak as you think. Moreover, Qin Mo, in your heart, is Qin Lu's death more important than anything else? Whether it's me or others, it doesn't matter anymore, right? He Huan smiled very softly. You can't accept hurting Qin Xian, but I can accept my husband providing the best life for the woman who hurt me. Even when Qin Xian wants to see her, you will personally take Qin Xian abroad to see her. Qin Mo, right? Is that your plan? Chapter 47-57. Qin Mo let out a long sigh. He Huan smiled helplessly. I'll move out with Yi Huan and Shinting. As for Qin Xian, if Ai Meng Meng can't match him, Yi Huan can. Qin Mo's body trembled. If you leave, what will Qin Xian say? Just say that we don't have a good relationship and that we can't give him a complete family, Yi Huan said, a little absent-minded and a little sorry. After all, she liked Qin Xian very much too. But even though she liked him and sympathized with him, she couldn't put herself in danger. Ever since she was young, Yi Huan had told herself that it was better to be selfish. Sympathy would only kill her. Qin Mo listened to her and knew that she had probably made up her mind. He stood up slowly. Yi Huan looked down. You still can't do it, right? He lowered his head and looked at her. After a long time, he said in a low voice, Yi Huan, are you really going to leave me in this family for this? Yes, Yi Huan said faintly. There are some things that I can't tolerate. I don't intend to spoil you. As she said that, she looked up at Qin Mo. When you send Qin Xian to the hospital, I'll pack up my things. You should stay here. Qin Xian is a little more sensitive. She was still thinking about that child. As long as it was within her power, she would do it. Qin Mo looked at her calm face and suddenly realized that Yi Huan might not have slept the whole night. While he was thinking, she was also thinking about it. And she had already thought about it. In fact, she already knew what he would think. That was why Yi Huan was so calm. Yi Huan stood up and said softly, that's it. Seeing that she was about to leave, Qin Mo grabbed her arm at once and said in a low voice, leave, what's the next step? Are you going to divorce me? Yi Huan's arm moved, wanting to move away, but Qin Mo still held on tightly. His voice was cold as he said, tell me, Yi Huan. Unable to break free, Yi Huan looked up at Qin Mo, must you force me? Qin Mo's temper flared. Yi Huan, you're the one who's been forcing me. I forced you. Yi Huan's anger flared up immediately. Qin Mo, aren't you the one forcing me? Forcing me to accept reality, forcing me to do as you wish. With that, she shook him off and walked out of the bedroom. Qin Mo stared at her back. Yes, this was still the Yi Huan from before. She was still the same Yi Huan who could make him gnash his teeth in anger from time to time. Qin Mo narrowed his eyes. For a moment, he wanted to drag Yi Huan in, but he held back. He didn't say his plan. It wasn't like Ai Jia didn't have any evidence against him abroad. If he was going to go to jail, it would be better to do it abroad. Moreover, Qin Xian grew up in China. But at this moment, he wouldn't say who sent Ai Jia to jail. It wouldn't be him, Qin Mo, at least not on the surface. And it wouldn't be Rong Yu either. Qin Mo's eyes turned gloomy. This was the best ending. But unexpectedly, when Qin Mo wanted to take Qin Xian to the hospital, Qin Xian stuck to Yi Huan and refused to leave. Moreover, he seemed to have noticed something. He found Yi Huan's packed suitcase in the bedroom. The little Qin Xian sat quietly on the suitcase, looking like he wanted Yi Huan to take him away. Yi Huan was speechless. She squatted down and said, Qin Xian, I'm just going to travel for a few days. Chapter 47-58. Qin Xian stared at her for a while without moving. After a while, he said sullenly, Then I want to go too. Aren't you going to the hospital with Uncle today? He Huan explained patiently. Qin Xian lowered his head slightly. I don't want to go. I just want to travel. He Huan was even more speechless. She looked at Qin Mo, thinking that he was a spy sent by Qin Mo. Qin Mo put his hands in front of him and twitched the corner of his mouth slightly. His meaning was obvious, no way. He Huan bit her lower lip and glared at him. Qin Mo's words had a double meaning. He Huan, do you have so little confidence in me? He Huan didn't say anything. She felt that it was a little cruel to say this in front of Qin Xian. Moreover, this child was sitting on her suitcase, asking her to pack him up and take him with her. Obviously, the one who treated him better was Qin Mo. Obviously. Suddenly, He Huan understood something. This 10-year-old child knew everything. He was sensitive enough to know that his appearance had ruined something and made things difficult for Qin Mo. And he was attached to this family. That was why he used such a method, to plead. Not for Ai Jia, but for her and Qin Mo. He Huan's heart was filled with an indescribable feeling. Her heart was very soft. Inexplicably, it was a feeling that was even stronger than love and heartache. It was as if this child was her own child. He Huan suddenly said, Do you really want to go with me? Qin Xian's little face lit up with hope, while Qin Mo frowned. This was too ridiculous. He Huan asked again, and Qin Xian nodded seriously. Therefore, He Huan said softly, That's easy. We don't have to leave. This house seems to be under my name. President Qin, you can just move out. Qin Mo frowned. Me? He Huan nodded. If not you, are the four of us going to move out? That's fine too. I think we're legally married now. You can also give me half of your assets, and I'll immediately take my kids and leave. I won't be an eyesore in the future. You can see whoever you want and marry whoever you want. Qin Mo was both annoyed and amused. He Huan, are you angry or jealous? She glared at him and refused to speak to him, just as he wished. Qin Mo rubbed his nose and his eyes fell on Qin Xian's little face, hoping that he would say something, but Qin Xian obviously took a side. Qin Mo was also speechless. He Huan, can you take care of these children? You pick them up if anything happens, He Huan said matter-of-factly. Otherwise, do you think you can be irresponsible? Qin Mo probably guessed what she was thinking. He just smiled and said, Okay, I'll move out. But can you let me take Qin Xian to the hospital today? He looked at Qin Xian and pretended to be angry. You're a traitor. Actually, he knew deep down that it was Qin Xian who made He Huan's heart soften. Without this little guy, He Huan wouldn't have cared about him. Qin Mo let out a long breath. He thought that maybe he was thinking too much. Maybe He Huan was right. Qin Xian could tell right from wrong, and he was the one who couldn't. He took Qin Xian to the hospital. Qin Chen checked and confirmed that Qin Xian's condition was under control, and the little guy's mental state was better than before. Qin Chen reached out and touched his little head. He magically took out a candy from his pocket and handed it to little Qin Xian. Candy. Go play with the nurse. I have something to discuss with your uncle. Chapter 47-59. Qin Xian looked at Qin Chen quietly for a while, then looked at Qin Mo. Qin Mo smiled. Go out and play. I have something to discuss with your aunt. Yes, uncle. Qin Xian insisted. Then, he blushed and followed the nurse out. Qin Chen looked at Qin Mo, where's He Huan? Did they fight again? Qin Chen could understand this very well. He Huan had recovered her memory. It was rare enough that she could tolerate Qin Xian. Not to mention He Huan, even Qin Chen couldn't stand Ai Jia hanging around her from time to time. However, Qin Mo was her second brother, and Qin Lu was also her family. Therefore, Qin Chen could feel the different feelings Qin Mo had for Qin Xian. But at the end of the day, principles were still principles. Qin Chen asked. Qin Mo was silent for a while, then said in a low voice, the extradition documents might be coming from America in a few days. Qin Chen was a little surprised. So soon? Qin Mo, are you? Qin Mo stopped her. No, it's the evidence we collected before. It's ready-made. Qin Chen stared at Qin Mo, can Qin Xian accept it? Qin Mo didn't say anything. Qin Chen sighed. This child is really quite pitiful. He likes He Huan very much. Qin Mo suddenly said, I think it's better to keep him by his side. As for Ai Jia, she got the punishment she deserved. When she came out, she was probably not young anymore. She should be in her 60s. This was because she had done a lot of things. Qin Chen asked again, does He Huan know? I don't know yet, Qin Mo said calmly. Let's not talk about it for now. Qin Chen knew that it was because of Qin Xian, but she didn't know that it was also because of Qin Mo. He was angry because He Huan wanted to separate from the family at the slightest provocation. She had already divided the children, but he didn't get a single one. Qin Xian, the traitor, had already gone to He Huan's place. After that, Qin Chen said something else. Ai Meng Meng came over and matched the type. She'll be out in the afternoon. Qin Mo nodded. Qin Chen leaned over. If he's good enough, will you really let them raise Qin Xian? Qin Mo looked up and frowned. He Huan told you everything. To this, Qin Chen only smiled and did not say anything. Qin Mo didn't say anything. He had a meeting later, so he sent Qin Xian back first. In the car, Qin Xian sat quietly in the back seat, still holding the candy that Qin Chen had given him. Qin Mo turned to look at him. After making sure that he had fastened his seatbelt, he started the car. The car drove for about 10 minutes. Qin Xian didn't say anything. Qin Mo stopped the car in front of a red light and asked softly, why don't you say anything? Qin Xian bit his lip and didn't say anything at first. After a while, he asked softly, will I still see my mother in the future? Qin Mo's heart skipped a beat. He immediately understood that he actually knew everything. After thinking for a while, he lowered his voice. Qin Xian, if uncle. Qin Xian hurriedly called him uncle and then bit his lip tightly. Qin Mo felt that it was too cruel for Qin Xian. He Huan said that he killed people with a blunt knife, and now he felt that it was right. The car drove back to the villa. When Qin Mo got out of the car, he gently patted Qin Xian's little head and said, I'm sorry. Qin Xian lowered his little head. He was actually a little dejected, but he still raised his little face and squeezed out a forced smile. I know it's not uncle's fault. He was young, but he knew too much. When he was abroad, the auntie and nurses at home would also talk about his mother. It wasn't strange that he knew a lot by secretly listening to them. Chapter 4760. Updated quickly, no pop-up windows, and free reading. Qin Mo opened the car door and held Qin Xian's hand as they got out of the car. He Huan was packing her luggage at home. Qin Mo frowned when he saw her. Didn't you say you're not leaving? He Huan pulled the suitcase and squeezed out a smile. This is yours, Qin Mo. Qin Mo frowned. Stop fooling around. He Huan tilted her head. President Qin, I'm serious. Qin Mo stared at her for a while and thought for a while. All right. He really left with the suitcase. However, after he left, He Huan found that there were a lot of bodyguards around the house. She ran downstairs to ask and found out that it was Qin Mo's order. He Huan was speechless. She immediately called Qin Mo. Qin Mo, what do you mean by this? Qin Mo drove and said indifferently, be good and don't go out these 2 days. He hung up the phone. He still had things to deal with, which was why he agreed to move out. He would only move out for 2 days, not 1 more day. After hanging up, Qin Mo put down the phone. His phone rang again. Qin Mo looked at it and was sure that it was Ai Jia. He reached out to answer the phone. Ai Jia's voice was a little panicked. Qin Mo, you have to save me this time. Qin Mo just. Ha. Ai Jia paused for a moment. They want to extradite me and accuse me of more than 10 crimes. If they were all convicted, she would have to go to jail. Qin Mo's voice was very calm. I can't help you. Ai Jia's voice was very anxious. I want to see you. At this time, only Qin Mo could save her. She knew that. At this time, Ai Jia had received some news in advance, so she was outside. However, she could not run away. She was driving, and City B was full of electronic eyes. She might be caught in an hour or half an hour later. Ai Jia panicked and didn't know what to do. She put down her pride and begged Qin Mo to help her. She even promised that she wouldn't visit Qin Xian anymore as long as she didn't go to jail. She couldn't go to jail. Once she went to jail, she would be finished. Everything she had would be gone. Qin Mo held his phone and listened to Ai Jia quietly. After a while, he said softly, go to the Emperor Color Club. Wait for me, I'll be there soon. After he finished speaking, he hung up the phone and made another call. About 10 minutes later, Qin Mo's car slowly drove into the clubhouse. He opened the door, got out, and walked in slowly. The waiter led him to his usual private room and pushed the door open. Mr. Qin, Ms. Ai is already waiting for you. Qin Mo nodded. All right, don't let anyone disturb me. With that, he went in and closed the door. Ai Jia looked a little anxious. Qin Mo, I'm begging you. I really can't go to jail. Qin Mo quietly took out a document and pushed it in front of her. This is the waiver of custody of Qin Xian. From now on, Qin Xian has nothing to do with you. Also, I request that the shares of King Entertainment be given to Qin Xian. You don't need money in jail, right? As he said this, Ai Jia was stunned. After a long time, she muttered, but didn't you want to help me not go to jail? Qin Mo's expression and voice were indifferent. You probably don't know, but there's a new charge, and that charge could be a life sentence. Ai Jia's expression changed. She stared at Qin Mo. Qin Mo smiled faintly. Your decision. Chapter 4761. Hearing his words, Ai Jia was stunned. After a long time, she murmured, but didn't you want to help me not to go to jail? Qin Mo's expression and voice were indifferent. You probably don't know that there is a new accusation, and that accusation may be a life sentence. Ai Jia's face changed. She stared at Qin Mo. Qin Mo smiled faintly. Your decision. Ai Jia's slender fingers held the table, and her voice was very soft. Qin Mo, tell me, did you do all this? Why did they suddenly accuse me? Chin Mo didn't deny it. The evidence has been there for a long time, and I've been suppressing it. Otherwise, you would have been in jail long ago. Aijia, you have this day because you don't know how to stop. Aijia's eyes stared at Chin Mo. Chin Mo suddenly said, Chin Lu's death isn't that simple, is it? Aijia's face was ashen. Chin Mo's jade-like fingers gently tapped the table, and his voice was very low. In fact, Chin Lu's death was arranged by you, and in this way, you happen to know me. Justifiable, seamless connection. There was a touch of coldness in Aijia's eyes. This is just your guess, President Chin. Chin Mo looked at her calmly, and then pushed a stack of documents to her. You should know this. Aijia stared at the documents in front of her, and her pupils contracted sharply. After a long time, she squinted her eyes. There must be a problem. I don't believe it. There must be a problem. Chin Mo was still quiet. Whether there is a problem or not, you know very well in your heart. As he said, he stood up. The reason why I saved you was not just because of Qin Xian, but because I found out what happened that year, and now I have the evidence. Chin Mo was calm. Aijia, when you killed Qin Lu, you already had Qin Xian. You're really good. It's a good thing that Qin Xian doesn't have a mother like you. Aijia was stunned. After a long time, he mumbled softly, it's not because of Qin Xian. Are you trying to send me to an American prison? My bottom line is the land of Qin, but you're the one who touched it. Chin Mo's voice was slightly cold. If it was in the past, he would not be calm at the mention of land of Qin, but now he was relieved. He chose to let her go. Aijia's gaze narrowed. He shook his head and denied, I didn't do anything to the land of Qin. I didn't. However, it was useless for her to say anything. Chin Mo had found the evidence, and she couldn't deny it. Aijia was taken away and sent to America 2 days later. This news was kept under wraps. Chin Mo also made a trip there a month later. Aijia was sentenced to life imprisonment, and she couldn't be released on bail or parole in advance. Chin Mo returned to B City. When he returned to the villa, it was 7:00 at night. Tomorrow, Qin Xian could already have surgery. It was Ai Mingming's bone marrow. Chin Mo stepped in and frowned slightly. He asked Yi Huan, where are Shenting and Qin Xian? Yi Huan threw herself into his arms and kissed for a while before saying, Mom is making a cake with them. They said it's a small party for Qin Xian. Chin Mo's heart warmed. He carried Yi Huan over. In the kitchen, Yi Huan's face was covered in flour. In front of her was a small and ugly cake. Beside her was Shenting on one side and Qin Xian on the other. Their eyes were filled with disapproval. However, this didn't affect Yi Huan's interest at all. Chin Mo walked over and stood beside her. He said in a low voice, it seems that you're doing well without me. Chapter 4762. After Chin Mo said that, Yi Huan's body stiffened. She hadn't expected him to come over. In fact, she hadn't contacted Chin Mo much in the past month, let alone met him. Aijia's matter had been low-key and Yi Huan had only found out about it 2 days ago. It was Qin Chen who had told her about it. Qin Chen's expression had been thought-provoking and Yi Huan hadn't understood what he meant. But now, she thought she understood. She moved and instinctively wanted to move away, but Chin Mo was obviously prepared for this. He immediately hugged her from behind and said in a husky voice, You're not happy that I'm home. The 2 boys blushed, especially Qin Xian. He stammered, Brother Enchanting, I have a math problem that I can't solve. Can you teach me? Enchanting glanced at him and quickly bent over to carry Qin Xian. Okay. This time, Qin Xian's face turned even redder. He wasn't a girl who would be hugged for no reason. Little Yi Huan whimpered and quickly followed. In the kitchen, only Qin Mo and Yi Huan were left. She still wanted to struggle, but Qin Mo lowered his head and whispered in her ear, Are you still angry? Yi Huan bit her lip. I'm not. Let go of me. I don't want to let go. Qin Mo said shamelessly. He closed his eyes for a while and opened them slowly. Did you miss me? Yi Huan's breathing became erratic. After a while, she muttered, You're so shameless. If a man is too shameless, he won't have a woman. He sounded very happy. Didn't you like me when I was shameless in the past? Yi Huan almost suffocated. She suddenly pushed him away with strength that she didn't know where she got it from. When she turned around, she glared at him and said through gritted teeth, I'm sorry, President Qin. I don't like you anymore. Qin Mo didn't seem to mind. Then, what do you like? Tell me, okay. With that said, he even kissed her affectionately. Yi Huan was stunned by the kiss. She murmured, Do you think you can come and go as you please? Qin Mo smiled. Have I? He paused for a moment. You packed my things, but they're a little short. I'll come back to get them. Yi Huan glared at him angrily. I've packed up all your things. Nothing is missing. Is that so? His voice was drawn out, and Yi Huan suspected that he was doing it on purpose. Sure enough, a certain man crossed his arms in front of him and said with a smile, There's still one thing missing. Yi Huan was stunned. She couldn't help but keep up with him. What's missing? Something called Yi Huan. Qin Mo smiled faintly. Yi Huan was furious. I'm not a thing. Qin Mo nodded and said, You're right. You're not a thing. She glared at him and gritted her teeth. Did you come back just to piss me off? Qin Mo took a step forward and said calmly, I told you, I came back to get my things. Yi Huan retreated instinctively, but he kept moving forward until Yi Huan's back was in front of the counter. She reached out her hand and accidentally touched the faucet behind her. Water gushed out of the faucet. Yi Huan screamed and jumped forward, right into Qin Mo's arms. Qin Mo chuckled. Didn't you say that you didn't miss me, okay? Yi Huan struggled. Let go of me. He hugged her. I'm not letting go. Yi Huan's head and face were full of water and she looked extremely pathetic. Chapter 4763. Memorized. Qin Mo was stunned for a moment, then he laughed softly. His laughter shook the Hun's chest. Yi Huan jumped into his arms. She looked pathetic, funny, and somewhat pitiful. Because the water was too cold, her body was trembling slightly. Qin Mo was afraid that she would catch a cold, so he held her waist with one hand and said in a soft and doting voice, I'll carry you upstairs to get your clothes, N. Yi Huan didn't want to let him go so easily. She reached out and gently hit his shoulder. Qin Mo, let go of me. Qin Mo turned on the water and gently put her over. With a splash, Yi Huan was covered in water again. This time, even Qin Mo got wet. He hugged her again and said helplessly, I need to change my clothes too. Then, no matter how hard she struggled, he carried her to the upper floor. Yi Huan panicked. She clenched her fists and pounded on Qin Mo's shoulders. Qin Mo, are you crazy? I don't want to. Let go of me, do you hear me? Qin Mo chuckled. The children will hear you if you speak any louder. Are you sure you want them to run upstairs to see what Mom and Dad are doing? Huan was both embarrassed and angry. Chin Mo, you don't have any clothes here. You can shower upstairs, but you're not allowed to go upstairs. You're not allowed to go upstairs, you hear me? Compared to her anger and anxiety, Chin Mo was obviously lazy. I heard it. Huan was stunned for a moment and then suffocated. You heard me. Why aren't you letting me go? Those are two different things, aren't they? He kissed her, his voice hoarse. I don't want to let go. Huan bit her lip and walked straight up the stairs while being carried by him. Qin Xian and Shinting were originally sitting on the sofa. Qin Xian was asking for advice on the question. At this moment, his attention was completely attracted. His eyes could not help but follow the adults upstairs. Shinting's face did not turn red nor did his heart skip a beat. He asked, Qin Xian, do you know this question? Huan, who was squatting on the side, said in an old-fashioned tone, I think Qin Xian is already in Chao Ying's camp, but his heart is in Han. Shinting glanced at her with a strange gaze. Qin Huan said confidently, I think I'm right. Shinting smiled faintly again and didn't say anything. He just looked at Qin Xian. Qin Xian's face was a little red. Brother Shinting, say that again. Shinting said it again patiently. This time, Qin Xian listened attentively, but Shinting was distracted. Because of Huan. Therefore, this topic was discussed again later on. Upstairs, Qin Mo carried Huan into the bathroom. The moment her feet touched the floor, she started screaming. What are you screaming for? Qin Mo was speechless. I'm not doing anything to you. As he said that, he looked at her and adjusted the hot water for her. Then, he went to the changing room to take her clothes and took a bathrobe to the guest room to take a shower. After Qin Mo left, Huan was stunned for a while before she came back to her senses. The hot water on her body was especially warm and comfortable. She wiped her face and remembered that she had not taken off her clothes. After taking a hot shower, she felt much more comfortable and changed her clothes. She thought that she would be done soon, but when she got downstairs, Qin Mo was already in the kitchen. Huan was not stupid enough to go upstairs again. She stood on the stairs and coughed softly. Huan, what is your daddy doing? Huan swallowed her saliva. Daddy is making a cake. Huan bit her lower lip again. Did you say you wanted to eat it? Chapter 47-64. Huan was not stupid enough to go upstairs again. She stood on the stairs and coughed softly. Huan, what is your father doing? Huan swallowed her saliva. Daddy is making a cake. Huan bit her lower lip again. Did you say you wanted to eat it? No. Huan said innocently. Daddy said that Mommy wanted to eat it, so he made it. Huan bit her lip again and frowned. She wanted to say something but swallowed it back down. No matter what, she couldn't say anything in front of the children. After all, Shinting was already a big boy and Qin Xian was a sensitive child. Besides, the children really missed him these days. It was not a big deal for them to have a meal together. Huan thought about it and felt relieved. Or rather, she found a reason to convince herself. She was sitting on the sofa on the other side of the room. She was half lying on the sofa, watching Shinting teach Qin Xian mathematics lazily. Huan was beside her, watching lazily as well. Even their expressions were in sync. After Qin Mo finished making the cake, he started to cook. There was a steamed fish, 2 stir-fried vegetables, and a stewed soup. It was nourishing and delicious. He-Huan couldn't help but swallow when she smelled the fragrance. He-Huan leaned over and said softly, "Mommy, you want to eat, don't you?" God knew how the three of them had been treated in the past month. Mommy wanted to be a good mother, but she really didn't need to cook to express her motherly love. Only big brother Enchanting could finish his mother's cooking without batting an eyelid. If she and Qin Xian really couldn't eat anymore, Qin Xian could still force himself to eat, but little He-Huan couldn't. Now that her father was back, He-Huan wouldn't let him go. She missed her father. She missed her father's cooking even more. After she said that, He-Huan roughly understood what she was thinking. She glanced at her and said, "Mommy's cooking is not good?" He-Huan smiled and said, "Mommy's cooking is already very delicious, but Daddy's is better." "Is it 1 point?" He-Huan asked her. He-Huan nodded vigorously. "Only one thing, but it's more important." He-Huan reached out and gently pinched her little face. "I can't raise you well." He-Huan's eyes widened. "Ingrate." She opened her eyes a little bit. "Mom, look, my eyes are black." He-Huan was speechless. After a while, he sighed and said, "I think so." He-Huan was still smiling. "That's how it is." He-Huan hesitated for a moment. "Do you really want Dad to stay?" This time, He-Huan did not speak for a long time. He-Huan did not speak either and only looked at her. After a long time, He-Huan murmured, "I miss Dad." Her little arms hugged He-Huan tightly as if she was afraid that she would not agree. He-Huan did not move. She sighed in her heart and was about to speak when Qin Mo came to He-Huan's side. He said to He-Huan, "Dad has something to do recently, so he asked Mommy to take care of you, okay?" After he said that, He-Huan immediately asked shrewdly, "How long will it take?" Qin Mo thought for a moment and smiled. "About half a year. But Dad will come back to see you every week." After a long time, He-Huan asked again worriedly, "Dad, are you sure?" Qin Mo nodded. "Of course." He-Huan howled and leaned on him again. Qin Mo carried her to the dining room. "Let's eat." The two boys quickly followed, but He-Huan was still in a daze for a long time. Chapter 47-65. He-Huan didn't say a word while Qin Mo was talking. She was just a little surprised. She was surprised that Qin Mo didn't say that he would stay. He wasn't. Her eyes couldn't help but fall on his face, and she didn't move for a long time. Qin Mo seemed to notice her gaze and looked in her direction. When his eyes met He-Huan's, he smiled faintly. Only then did He-Huan remember that he didn't bring his luggage with him, and he didn't even have anything upstairs. He went to the guest room to take a shower, which Qin Mo didn't do in the past. There was a trace of uncertainty in He-Huan's eyes. Qin Mo was still looking at her quietly. After a while, he smiled. "He-Huan, do you have a problem? Do you not want me to come and see the children, or do you want me to stay?" He-Huan snorted coldly. "You can come and go as you please. No one is stopping you." Qin Mo glanced at her and cut a small piece of cake for He-Huan and Qin Xian. Then, he smiled again. "You sound like you said it out of anger." He-Huan gritted her teeth. "I didn't say it out of anger." Qin Mo raised his eyebrows. "Really? That's good." There was always a hint of provocation in his gaze when he looked at her. He-Huan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Did he come back this time to deliberately make her angry? He-Huan bit her lower lip and decided to ignore him. Anyway, he was so bad. While they were arguing, the two boys didn't say a word and buried their heads in the cake. Enchanting didn't usually eat sweet things like cake. In order to diffuse the subtle atmosphere, he ate 2 small pieces in a row. Of course, he fed a part of it to Yi Huan. Little Yi Huan was satisfied. She wiped her mouth. Daddy, Mommy, you will affect our healthy growth. How is Yi Huan unhealthy? Qin Mo was amused. Then, because he hadn't seen his little girl for a long time, he held Yi Huan on his lap during the meal. He lowered his head and pressed it against the little girl's hair, smelling the pleasant smell that belonged to a child. Yi Huan also missed her father, so she reached out and hugged Qin Mo. Yi Huan was eating. The food was delicious, and the scene in front of her was heartwarming. However, she had a very strange feeling. She couldn't tell what it was, so she continued to eat. When she was almost full, she realized that this strange feeling was called emptiness. It seemed like Qin Mo's return this time had nothing to do with her. He came back to see the child. Everything that happened in the kitchen was just a small tease. He didn't really miss her. Yi Huan was a little embarrassed. After the meal, she found an excuse to go upstairs. Qin Mo was hanging out with the children downstairs. He looked up and saw that Yi Huan's footsteps were a little heavy. She seemed to be a little angry. Angry. The corner of Qin Mo's mouth curled up slightly. Qin Xian leaned against him and talked to him. He's small, slender, fragile, and unbelievably beautiful. Qin Mo simply grabbed his own knee. This child was too delicate and sensitive. Ai Jia had done so much, but Qin Mo didn't know how to explain it to Qin Xian. Perhaps he would tell Qin Xian when he grew up, but not now. This was too cruel for Qin Xian now. Qin Xian was very small, but he was very sensitive. However, after living with Qin Mo for so long, he trusted Qin Mo and Yi Huan. It wasn't that he didn't have any feelings for Ai Jia, but he was too young to change anything. Chapter 4766. Qin Xian was young but sensitive. However, after living with Qin Mo for so long, he trusted Qin Mo and Yi Huan. It was not that he had no feelings for Ai Jia, but that he was too young to change anything. Since then, Qin Xian had never mentioned Ai Jia. When Qin Xian was 18 years old, he had asked about Ai Jia's whereabouts once. Qin Mo told him, but he did not tell him the cruel truth. When Qin Xian was 20, he asked Qin Mo again. This time, Qin Mo told him. Later, Qin Xian went abroad for 4 years. The day before he returned, he went to see Ai Jia. At that time, Qin Xian was no longer that fragile boy. He had grown into a young man like Qin Lu. He was handsome and had a trace of Ai Jia's gentleness. That was 14 years later. Ai Jia looked at her son quietly. She suddenly felt relieved of the anger she had been holding for so many years. She had done so much, but she had let Qin Xian down the most. At this time, Qin Xian was a 10-year-old boy. He had no parents. He only had Qin Mo and Yi Huan. He was worried about Ai Jia's whereabouts and the relationship between Qin Mo and Yi Huan. He was afraid that his arrival would break up their relationship. There were many times when he thought of leaving, but he left without saying a word. However, Enchanting patted his shoulder and told him that his uncle would come back. Yi Huan also laughed and said that he was thinking too much. Qin Xian did not understand why they were so sure. His uncle had not been home for a long time. Were kids nowadays not afraid of breaking up their families? Breaking up their families. Qin Yi Huan opened her eyes wide. Dad loves Mom so much. He can't bear to break up. She patted Qin Xian's shoulder again. Men in their 40s are all so slippery and pretentious. Qin Xian's eyes widened. Greasy. Uncle Qin has nothing to do with this, right? Who said that? At this moment, Qin Mo was done with the children and started to walk upstairs. He still had something to talk to Yi Huan about. Yi Huan was lying on the sofa playing with her phone. When she heard the door open, she immediately sat up. She stopped playing and looked at him warily. Qin Mo, what are you doing here? Qin Mo smiled faintly. You seem to be afraid of me. He looked around and then sat opposite her. The sofa sank because of his weight, and Yi Huan just stared at him. Qin Mo's hand was on the sofa. He looked at her expression and said with amusement, I remember that we are still legally married. Why are you so guarded against me? You're not a little girl anymore. Yi Huan bit her lip. Qin Mo, what are you trying to say? Qin Chen said that Qin Xian can be operated on, Qin Mo suddenly said in a serious tone. Yi Huan was stunned. Then she said in a low voice, he can be operated on. Qin Mo nodded. Yes. He will be hospitalized the day after tomorrow. Yi Huan couldn't believe it. He would be hospitalized the day after tomorrow, and she didn't know if Qin Xian was afraid. Qin Mo probably knew what she was thinking. He said calmly, Qin Xian is a boy. Yi Huan bit her lip. But he is still a child. He is only 10 years old. Qin Mo was still calm. No one can replace him. What I want to say is that Qin Xian will be hospitalized for about a month. I will take care of him during this month. He probably knew what Yi Huan wanted to say, so he quickly continued as if he had thought about it a long time ago. Chapter 47-67. He probably knew what Yi Huan wanted to say, so he quickly said, I know you want to take care of him personally. Yi Huan, what I want to say is that taking care of a patient is not easy. You know Qin Xian's situation. You will stay here to take care of Yi Huan and Shenting. They need the care of elders. After Qin Xian is discharged, I will send him to the sanatorium for a year. He said it emotionlessly and quickly. Yi Huan stared at him for a while before murmuring, You've thought about it, haven't you? Qin Mo, what have you been doing for the past month? What have you been thinking? Qin Mo's tone was indifferent. I thought you wouldn't be interested. Yi Huan bit her lip and didn't say anything. Qin Mo smiled. You're not going to say anything. Yi Huan lowered her head. You've already thought about it. What's the difference if I say anything? Are you angry again? Qin Mo suddenly sat beside her. Yi Huan's pupils shrank. She moved to the side and bit her lip. Qin Mo, why are you sitting here? Qin Mo suddenly said, Do you know why I arranged for Qin Xian to go to the sanatorium? Yi Huan pursed her lips and shook her head. Qin Mo paused. Rong Yu is very insistent. He wants to take care of Qin Xian. He's probably afraid that Ai Meng Meng will be lonely. After all, they don't have a child. Yi Huan blurted out, but he's Qin Lu's child. Seeing that she was tricked, Qin Mo coughed. Yeah, why are you taking care of Qin Lu's child? Shouldn't he be in the Qin family? Yi Huan realized that she had been tricked. She glared at him for a while and snorted. Let Qin Xian decide for himself. Qin Mo smiled but didn't say anything. Yi Huan waited for a long time, but Qin Mo didn't speak, so she bit her lip and stammered, Qin Mo, say something. Say what? He smiled again and reached out to touch her little chin. Shouldn't you be the one saying it? For example, asking me to stay or something. Yi Huan turned her head away, trying to avoid his touch, but Qin Mo had a way of catching her. He pinched her chin and made her look at him. After he was done talking business, he began to tease her again. You really don't miss me at all. It's been a month, Mrs. Qin, right? As he spoke, he leaned over and kissed her. Huan was stunned. After a while, she touched her lips with her finger and murmured, Qin Mo, goodnight kiss. Qin Mo chuckled and stood up. I'm going back. Ah! Huan exclaimed again. Only then did she notice that he had changed into his previous clothes. Was he really going back? He didn't want to stay, nor did he want to stay. She didn't know whether she was more shocked or more disappointed. It had been more than a month, and she knew about what had happened to Ai Jia. There were several times when she wanted to call Qin Mo, but she held back. He was back, but it wasn't the way she wanted him to be. Huan wanted to throw away her pride and throw herself into his arms, but her pride didn't allow her to do so, so she looked a little awkward. Qin Mo stood and looked at her condescendingly. After a while, he said, You were much cuter when you lost your memory. Huan glared at him. Qin Mo just smiled and left. He really left. Huan sat on the sofa and thought a little pretentiously. She clenched her fists and bit her lips, feeling a little uneasy. That night, Huan had a dream. She dreamt that she received Qin Mo's divorce agreement. There were a lot of things on it, and in the end, it was about the distribution of the children. She was assigned to Qin Xian. Chapter 47-68. 69 books, right? That night, Huan had a dream. She dreamt that she received Qin Mo's divorce agreement. There were many items on the agreement, and in the end, it was about the distribution of the children. She was assigned to Qin Xian. Little Qin Xian carried a school bag and followed her. Later, Huan woke up. When she woke up, it was still dark. She slept alone on the big bed. Qin Mo was not there. Yes, he had gone back a long time ago. Huan did not know where he was staying, but secretary he had vaguely mentioned that he was staying in a hotel. Not in their previous apartment, but in a hotel. Huan thought that maybe he really wanted to divorce her. Divorce, let's just divorce. She was not begging him. However, since he was not in the mood to come back, why did he tease her? In the middle of the night, Huan scratched her head with a headache. She felt that Qin Mo was really too hateful. The next day, Shenting and Huan went to school, leaving Qin Xian and her at home. Huan did not sleep well. Her eyes were all bruised. Qin Xian was very considerate and did not wake her up. At 10 o'clock, he said that he wanted to go back to sleep, so Huan slept with him. For the first time, Qin Xian and Huan fell asleep on the sofa together. When they woke up, it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. When Huan woke up, she held a warm little body in her arms. There was an indescribable feeling in her heart. She thought of the dream. In the dream, little Qin Xian carried a little school bag and followed behind her. Then she remembered that he was going to be admitted to the hospital tomorrow. They would not be able to see each other for a week after the operation. After that, he would stay in the sanatorium for a year. It was so long that they would not be able to see each other. Huan was a little reluctant. She kissed the little boy. Qin Xian, are you afraid? Qin Xian had just woken up. There was a touch of red on his usually pale face, which was very good-looking. He was stunned at first, but he quickly reacted. He shook his head at first, then changed his mind and nodded. Of course they were afraid. Not to mention children, even adults were afraid. Huan felt sorry for him. She touched his face and said gently, Auntie Qin Chen is here. Don't be afraid. Qin Xian pursed her lips and nodded vigorously. He Huan patted Momo's head lovingly and smiled faintly. Qin Xian seemed to have thought of something. Auntie, can I hug you? Of course. As soon as He Huan finished speaking, the small person had already hugged her tightly. Although the person looked small and skinny, he was shockingly strong. He Huan was in pain, but she still hugged him to comfort him. Little Qin Xian lay in her arms for a long time before a muffled voice came out, Auntie, can I call you Mummy? He Huan was stunned. Although Qin Xian looked sensitive and slender, he was a proud little guy. While she was hesitating, Qin Xian had already called out softly, Mummy. His voice was very soft and sounded like a whimper. Suddenly, He Huan understood. This child probably knew that he would never have a mother, but he didn't know how to express it. He Huan's heart ached to the extreme. She couldn't describe her feelings. She had always thought that Ai Jia deserved it. After all, she had done so many bad things. No punishment was too much. But now that Qin Xian had lost his mother forever, she felt guilty. This child who called her mummy was indirectly sent to prison by her. She heard that she would never get out. He Huan wanted to say something, but she didn't know where to start. Chapter 4769. At this moment, He Huan made a decision. Just like in her dream, she would take care of Qin Xian. He would call her mom. After a long time, He Huan said softly, Get up and eat. It's afternoon. Actually, there was an auntie at home who cooked, but He Huan cooked a bowl of noodles for Qin Xian. Her noodles were good, and Qin Xian enjoyed it, but He Huan really didn't think it was that delicious. She smiled and said, Slow down. No one is competing with you. Qin Xian finished the last poached egg and took a breath. Today is my birthday. He Huan held her chin and said, Then I'll have to think of a gift for you. Qin Xian's little face was abnormally red. I called you Mom. He Huan said, Aw, and then came back to her senses. She really couldn't believe that Qin Xian had chosen her. While she was still in shock, Qin Xian said again, Will you accompany me to the hospital tomorrow? He Huan looked at him. Qin Xian licked his lower lip and said again, I want Mom to accompany me. He Huan's feelings were very complicated at this time. She hugged Qin Xian and kissed him, saying in a low voice, I'll take you out to eat cake later. In fact, Qin Xian's body was not very suitable for going out, but He Huan wanted to take him out now. Every child had a wish, which was to eat cake with their parents on their birthday. Qin Xian was no exception. Although he had never said or mentioned it. After He Huan said that, Qin Xian opened his eyes wide. He was a little hesitant and yearning. Can I really? If I say you can, then you can. He Huan snorted and raised her voice slightly. Go upstairs and change. Qin Xian immediately abandoned his hesitation and changed his expression to one of yearning. Half an hour later, the two of them set off. Not only did they eat cake, but they also went to the amusement park. Although the weather in early spring was sunny, it was still a little cold. Qin Xian wore a lot of clothes and a mask to prevent people from getting infected. He Huan also made sure that Qin Xian didn't play anything too intense and only played with kids. Even so, Qin Xian was already very satisfied. However, after returning to a shopping mall in the city center, He Huan wanted to buy a gift for Qin Xian. Children always liked toys, although Qin Xian had never asked for it. He Huan had thought about it. She couldn't control Shinting's way of education. Qin Mo had high hopes for Shinting, but she was in charge of Qin Xian. She wanted Qin Xian to be happy. With that thought in mind, He Huan let loose a little. At this time, the reporters stopped her. She didn't know what was going on. She and Qin Xian both wore masks and kept a low profile. However, it was obvious that the reporters were very excited. Director He, I heard that you and President Qin have separated. Your movie's box office is approaching 4 billion yuan. Did you neglect your marriage because you were too focused on your career? Did President Qin cheat on you? Cheat on me? He Huan didn't know where this news came from. She glanced at the reporters and didn't want to talk to them. However, the reporters obviously didn't want to let her go. They chased after her again. Don't you know that President Qin had dinner with a socialite 3 times a month? Or is this marriage only in name, and you and President Qin are doing things on your own? He Huan protected Qin Xian in front of her and said coldly, you can ask President Qin about this. Being in the entertainment industry, she knew better than anyone else. They didn't dare to ask Qin Mo about this kind of topic. They just had to pick the weak ones. Chapter 4770. Memorize. He Huan didn't finish her sentence. She pushed past the reporters and walked into the mall. But no matter where she went, there were people following her, and the number of reporters was increasing. Qin Xian was a little uneasy beside her. He tugged at the corner of her shirt and called out softly, Mama. At this moment, the sharp-eared reporters heard it and immediately let their imaginations run wild. They played their own games. They even dared to write that He Huan had an illegitimate child, but this child was older than Qin Yi Huan. How could there be an illegitimate child? In the end, He Huan was finally blocked and couldn't move. And the reporters had to ask her how she felt. Of course, He Huan wouldn't say it. But after being stuck for so long, she was also a little angry. She directly called Qin Mo's cell phone and said, I'll get President Qin to come over and explain things to you. President Qin was a man that the reporters couldn't afford to offend. But the reporters were unwilling to give up the famous scene of a man and a woman in the same picture, so none of them left. When Qin Mo rushed over, he had a rather good-looking woman with him. She was the manager of the public relations department. Other than that, there was also Secretary He and a large group of King Entertainment security personnel. King Entertainment security personnel were all tall and strong. There were at least 20 of them. Qin Mo's expression was very ugly, especially when he saw Qin Xian, who was wearing a mask and holding He Huan in one hand, being squeezed by the crowd to the point that he was almost out of shape. He Huan herself was not any better. He was really angry. When Qin Mo came over, the reporters seemed to have lost their tongues. They all kept quiet and focused on taking pictures. They even took pictures of the female lead of the scandal and Qin Mo together. Oh yes, there was also the illegitimate child. These pictures could be written with exaggeration. Qin Mo's expression became even uglier. He walked straight in front of He Huan. She had always been willful and mischievous, never taking his words to heart. However, he had always given her face in front of others and would only punish her in private. Therefore, only He Huan knew about Qin Mo's viciousness. But this time, Qin Mo didn't give her any face at all. He said coldly, He Huan, there's a limit to your nonsense. I told you yesterday that Qin Xian will be hospitalized tomorrow. It's not like you don't know that it's not suitable for him to appear in a crowd. He'll get infected, and once he gets infected, he might have to stay in the hospital for a week. Plus, he needs surgery. Ai Mingming's body is suitable for donation now. I don't know when the next time will be. He Huan actually knew, but she had a sense of propriety when she brought Qin Xian to play. It wasn't her wish to be blocked by these reporters. She also didn't expect that he would blame her without apologizing even though it was clearly caused by his scandal. Moreover, this was the first time he had acted so shamelessly in public. Juan replied coldly, "Yeah, I was just messing around. But if I didn't come out, I wouldn't have known. I was too focused on work and President Qin is having a date with someone else." Qin Mo was annoyed. What date? Juan ignored him and carried Qin Xian, wanting to leave since the reporters had already dispersed. But her body wasn't in good shape either. She only managed to walk a few steps before her body tilted and she fell. Qin Mo caught her immediately. When Juan woke up, the sky was already dark. She opened her eyes slowly and saw a white wall in front of her. There was a faint smell of medicine in the air. Why was she in the hospital? A few seconds later, she recalled the argument with Qin Mo and Qin Xian's birthday. Just as she was about to sit up, a voice came from beside her. "You still have to run because your blood sugar is too low. Not to mention, Juan is carrying Qin Xian. Juan, you're not a 3-year-old anymore." Chapter 47-71. Juan was just about to sit up when a voice came from beside her. "Your blood sugar is too low and you still want to run. What's more, you brought Qin Xian with you. Juan, you're not a 3-year-old anymore." The voice was a little harsh, reminding Juan of Qin Mo in the past. Qin Mo was in his 20s. Qin Mo was so bossy and annoying. She propped herself up and tilted her head slightly to look at Qin Mo. Qin Mo was looking at her too. He sat on the sofa beside the bed with a gloomy expression and a cold voice. "Congratulations, Qin Xian was infected successfully. He's in quarantine now. On his birthday, the day before his surgery." Juan was stunned for a moment before she mumbled, "He was wearing a mask." "If masks are all-purpose, we wouldn't need so many doctors," Qin Mo said bluntly. Juan bit her lip and didn't say anything. Qin Mo didn't seem to want to talk to her. He simply told her that Qin Xian wouldn't be returning to the villa after his surgery and that she needed to stay in the hospital for observation. If there were no problems, she could be discharged the next morning. His attitude was a little cold and angry. He wasn't heartless, but it definitely wasn't the way he treated his wife. Juan was stunned for a moment before she looked down and said in a low voice, "Qin Mo, I want to see Qin Xian. He's in quarantine. If you want to see him, you can only see him through the glass." Qin Mo sounded a little annoyed. Juan looked at him. "Today is Qin Xian's birthday. I just want him to be happy." Qin Mo stared at her for a while. She didn't know if he understood her explanation or if he didn't want to hear it at all. He was still very cold. "Auntie Lan will bring you food later. Rest early after you finish eating." After saying that, Qin Mo looked like he was going to leave. Juan suddenly stopped him. Qin Mo paused and tilted his head. "Anything else?" Juan didn't know what she wanted to say. After a long time, she murmured, "Are we going to get a divorce?" Under the light, Qin Mo's eyes were as black as ink. After a long time, he said in a low voice, "What about you?" It was another sentence without any rhyme or reason. Like him, Juan did not answer his question. Before Qin Mo walked out, he heard her murmur, "Maybe I'm really focused on work. Therefore, she was not suitable to be his wife." After so many years, they had always quarreled. Now that there was nothing to quarrel about, they still hadn't reconciled and were still proud of themselves. Qin Mo turned his head away. Juan stared at him. There was a trace of confusion in her eyes, as if she was looking forward to something that had been dashed. Qin Mo was indeed quite annoyed, but at this moment, he felt a certain sadness in his heart. He had always been the one walking towards her. Whether it was 100 steps, 1,000 steps, or 10,000 steps, he had never hesitated. And after listening to the boring topics of the reporters, she had questioned him. He thought that yesterday at the villa, he had made it very obvious that he was waiting for her. But it was obvious that Juan had pushed him away again. Chin Mo knew that he was being a little unreasonable, but he didn't want to reconcile with her now. He didn't want to coax her, and he didn't want to reunite with her. If they reconciled, they would be reunited, and there would be no restraints. Maybe she would fly away again, just like before. Chin Mo narrowed his eyes, clenched his fists, and suddenly closed the door. Juan bit her lip and threw a pillow at the door. Just then, Chin Chen came over. Chapter 47-72. Juan bit her lip and threw a pillow at the door just as Chin Chen came over. She caught the pillow easily and smiled. Did you two fight again? Juan still felt guilty in front of the doctor. After all, she was the one who brought Qin Xian out and got infected, so she wasn't as arrogant as before when she saw Qin Chen. Qin Chen had always liked Juan. She was so nice, living like a woman. She was a princess at home and a famous director when she was out. He wondered if there were any actresses. Yeah. Qin Chen put the pillow down and put his hands in his pockets, looking very handsome. He looked at Juan and asked the nurse to put the dinner down. Auntie Lan brought it here. I told her to go back. Oh yeah, Mom is worried about you and Qin Xian. Juan couldn't help looking up at the mention of this. Mom. Is it my fault? Of course it's your fault. Qin Chen smiled and comforted her. Actually, Mom and I can understand you. After all, Qin Xian isn't your biological son and he's related to the Qin family by blood. Moreover, he's Aijia's child, so it's reasonable for you to dote on him. As for my second brother, I don't think he's mad at you because of Qin Xian's infection. At least, it's not just about that. After Qin Chen said this, Juan was a little stunned. After a while, she said in a low voice, it's not. Qin Chen held back his laughter. At least, I don't think it's just that. At least, it's not what he's most angry about. Juan, you're actually very smart. Why can't you understand this? It must have been hard on her second brother. It wasn't easy for him to watch over her for so many years. The Qin family seemed to be the type of people who were loyal to one person to the end, just like their old mother. Thinking about it, it seemed that she was the only one who had changed her liking. The person she used to like was called Rong Lei. She had liked him for many years, until Lan Yu appeared. Well, until now. Qin Chen also felt quite friendly when he saw people in a vegetative state. Although it was not good for a doctor to have some bad taste, Qin Chen still felt that it was a very good thing to use a needle to wake up a person who was sleeping very soundly. It was very good. Especially after waking up, the feeling of calling her a quack while in pain was even better. Qin Chen reminisced about how Lan Yu was not as cute as she used to be. He thought about how interesting it was to treat her as a man and how hesitant she was in the past. Qin Chen sank into the memories of the past. Juan looked at her and asked, Qin Chen, what are you thinking about? Qin Chen just smiled and said, oh, nothing. Hurry up and eat. If not, I'll feed you. She especially liked to tease Juan, so she really fed her. Juan really refused, but Qin Chen really insisted. So, when Qin Mo turned around, he saw Juan seducing his second sister-in-law's younger sister, brother. Qin Chen put down the bowl with a fake smile and said, second brother, why don't you do it? Qin Mo glared at her and closed the door. Qin Chen waved his hand and said, "He's jealous." He Huan let out an "ah," and after a long time, she bit her lips and said, "Really?" Qin Chen smiled and said, "I say, second sister-in-law, can't you feel whether second brother is jealous or not? You two have been together for so long. It seems like you two have been together since young. Can't you guess what he is thinking?" Sigh, didn't they say that an old couple would feel that the other party's hand belongs to them? Why did He Huan not understand Qin Mo at all? Wasn't Qin Mo being unreasonable now? He had been a bootlicker for so long. Wasn't he just being unreasonable and coaxing a little? I will update tomorrow. Chapter 47-73. Memorize. After Qin Chen finished speaking, He Huan remained unmoved. Now, she was angry. With Qin Mo's attitude, even if she tried to get close to him, she would just be giving him the cold shoulder. Why bother? However, He Huan really wanted to see Qin Xian. She was indeed worried and felt guilty. Thinking of this, He Huan couldn't eat anymore. She lifted the quilt and said, "I want to see Qin Xian." Qin Chen stopped her with one hand. "Qin Xian is fine. Eat your food, or I won't be able to explain it to Qin Mo, Qin Mo." He Huan was stunned for a moment. He was so fierce to her. Would he care about whether she had enough to eat or not? After a brief trance, she came back to her senses and looked at Qin Chen. Qin Chen just smiled and coaxed her second sister-in-law, "All right, I'll go with you when you finished eating." Her words were more effective than Qin Mo's. He Huan finished the soup Auntie Lan brought. After the bowl was empty, she looked at Qin Chen and asked, "Is it okay now?" Qin Chen put away the things and teased, "Look at you, Qin Xian seems to be closer to you than his biological son." Actually, she could understand. He Huan might be a little casual, but she was never one to meddle in other people's business. To be able to take Qin Xian with her in such a situation, meant that she really treated him as her own. It was impossible for Qin Mo not to know about this. The reason why he was so angry was because of something else. After Qin Chen finished speaking, He Huan looked at her and murmured after a while, "He called me mom." Qin Chen shook his head. Everything has its vanquisher. In the past, He Huan had been so cold-hearted. Yi Huan had been abandoned in B City for many years, and He Huan had been alone abroad. Now that it was Qin Xian who called her mom, she couldn't stand it anymore. In any case, Qin Chen took He Huan to the special observation room. Since she couldn't enter, He Huan could only watch through the glass. Qin Xian was asleep, but there was an abnormal redness on his face. He Huan felt sorry for him. She put her hands flat on the glass and stared at it for a while before asking in a low voice, "Does he have a fever?" Qin Chen didn't hide it from her. "It's just a mild fever, so you have to be careful. Don't worry. I'll stay in the office for the next few days." He Huan felt guilty and guilty. "Qin Chen," she said. "Qin Xian's surname is also Qin, isn't it?" Qin Chen said carelessly. Suddenly, he said, "By the way, Qin Mo will also stay in the hospital to accompany him." He Huan, he should have told you about the nursing home in a year. At that time, Qin Xian will be alone. He can only visit him occasionally. This is Qin Mo's arrangement. Perhaps it was to make Qin Xian forget something. Time was the best medicine for healing. He Huan heard what she said, but she didn't answer. She just looked at Qin Xian quietly. At this moment, there was only Qin Xian. Everything else seemed to be blurred and unimportant. As for He Huan, she couldn't tell if she regretted taking him out. It seemed like she regretted it a lot, but it also seemed like she didn't regret it anymore. Because on his birthday, Qin Xian looked very satisfied when he heard about the cake. After a long time, He Huan's voice was very soft. "He will be fine, right?" Qin Chen smiled faintly. "I promise." The days after flew by. He Huan was discharged from the hospital, but she would come to the hospital to visit Qin Xian every day. Although they could only see each other through the glass, she saw him getting better day by day. Qin Mo didn't go back. She occasionally saw Qin Mo in the hospital. Secretary He accidentally mentioned that President Qin had booked a VIP ward in Xingyuan Hospital and was staying there for a long time. He Huan didn't pay him any special visits. Chapter 47-74. When they occasionally met, they would only exchange a few words, that was all. He Huan couldn't understand Qin Mo's thoughts, but she didn't ask. She lived with Shinting and Yi Huan just like that. With Shinting's company, Yi Huan wasn't lonely. She seemed content to call Qin Mo every night. Shinting went to King Entertainment twice a week, sometimes with Yi Huan. Hence, He Huan was the one who interacted with Qin Mo the least. Slowly, she became a stranger. He Huan couldn't even remember when she had thrown herself into his arms. She had also slowly forgotten his warmth and scent. There was also gossip about him and the public relations manager, or perhaps a minor celebrity under his banner, in the tabloid magazines. King Entertainment had never done any internal PR, so news of their divorce was everywhere. On the contrary, the parties involved were very calm. He Huan thought to herself, they're living separately. At least, it's not as simple as a Cold War. She didn't have the face to ask him, and she couldn't bring herself to do it. A month later, Qin Xian underwent surgery and was sent to the rehab home. The little guy's body slowly recovered, and he often sent postcards to He Huan. When He Huan received the 28th postcard, the maple leaf was already red. She sat quietly on a bench in the courtyard of the villa, a book in her hand. In the past 6 months, Qin Mo almost never came back, and she didn't look for him. Their interactions became fewer and fewer, except for when He Huan received a sum of about 500 million yuan from Twin. She called Secretary He, and Secretary He transferred the call to Qin Mo. She thanked him, and he said, "You're welcome." When did they become so distant? The call had to be transferred, and she had to say thanks for the slightest thing. After that, there was no after. It was already autumn. In the afternoon, He Huan sat in the courtyard reading. The book in her hand had already turned many pages. Qin Xian's 28 postcards were neatly packed in a small box. There were 52 of them. Qin Xian should be back soon. He Huan flipped through the pages one by one and put down her hands. Her eyes were a little sore. He looked at the time and realized that he had been sitting there for almost 2 hours. It had been half a year, and her health had improved a lot. She had never thought of becoming a big director again. It was a good idea to raise 2 kids like this. She thought that since Qin Mo hadn't come back for so long, his intentions should be very obvious. He wanted to divorce her, but he just didn't want to bring it up first. He Huan looked up at the afternoon sun. It was a little dazzling, and her eyes were sore. She covered her eyes with her hands. After a while, she gently put her hands down, picked up her phone, and opened WeChat. She typed word by word in the chat box, "Qin Mo, let's get a divorce." After she finished writing, she tossed her phone aside and stopped looking at it. After reading for a while, she went back to take a nap. When she woke up, she suddenly remembered the message from before. She took a look and saw that Qin Mo had not replied. Huan couldn't figure out what he meant. They had clearly only seen each other once or twice in half a year. He probably had no intention of continuing this marriage. Huan sighed. She put her phone on the bedside table and got up to take a shower. However, when she came back from the shower, she found another person in the master bedroom, sitting against the headboard. And beside her pillow was a rather thick document. Huan lowered her eyes and pulled the overly thin bathrobe around her. If she had known that he would come back, she would never have worn this. Chapter 4775. There are no pop-ups, and it's free. Qin Mo's gaze fell on her, and his eyes seemed to be darker than usual. Huan's voice was a little low. I'll go change. There's no need. Qin Mo's eyes were faintly burning as he stared at her. Huan felt even more uneasy. She bit her lip and insisted, I'll still, I said no need. Qin Mo's voice was a little low, and he sounded a little domineering. Come here. Huan didn't understand. In her heart, he had come back to get her to sign the divorce agreement. It was the same when they divorced last time, a thick stack of documents. She suddenly felt a little angry. Since he wanted her to sign it, why did he come back? Wouldn't it be better and more direct to get the lawyer to come over? Therefore, when he asked her to come over, she refused to listen and took a step back. Qin Mo's dark eyes were still locked on her. Didn't you say you wanted a divorce? I came back with the documents. Why don't you dare to look at them? He knew Huan's character very well. With such a provocation, Huan fell for it. She bit her lip, glared at him for a while, and then snorted. Why don't I dare to look at them? As she said that, she went to the other side of the bed and took the documents. She had only read a few words when her wrist was caught. Huan looked up and couldn't look away. She murmured, It's not a divorce agreement. Of course not. It was a contract that forbade divorce for life. No one else could make a thick stack of documents like Qin Mo. Huan struggled a little as he held her hand. Let go of me. The location was too dangerous. Qin Mo stared at her. I'm not letting go. Huan closed her eyes slightly. Qin Mo, you jerk. You're the jerk. He pinched her chin and easily restrained her. Do you know why I didn't come back? Huan didn't say anything. She was a little stubborn. Qin Mo's fingers were a little slow, but his voice was even more languid and hoarse. On the day you were hospitalized, Qin Chen said that we should sleep in separate beds for a while. He didn't finish his sentence because Huan could guess that she was struggling again. She could roughly guess why Qin Mo had come back this time. She had just had a physical examination and everything was normal. However, no matter how much she struggled, she still couldn't break free from him. The children were not there, so Qin Mo seemed to be able to do whatever he wanted. When night fell, the villa was still quiet. Not even the lights were turned on. Huan slowly opened her eyes. Her surroundings were dark, and she felt a warm breath on the side of her neck. She knew that Qin Mo was still around, so she buried her face into the pillow. Where are Enchanting and Huan? Qin Mo's voice seemed to carry a hint of a smile. I asked him to bring Huan to the Chiu courtyard for a night. Huan was speechless. For her. He actually asked Enchanting and Huan to stay out. He was shameless, but she still wanted to. Huan was angry. On the other hand, there was no one else at home, so she stayed in bed and didn't want to get up. Qin Mo knew what she was thinking and teased her. Didn't you want me to come back? Why are you unhappy now that I'm back? Huan turned around and turned her back to him. I didn't want you to come back, like that. He was too shameless. Chin Mo laughed again. So you want me to come back and divorce you, huh? He Huan turned her head again and glared at him. Divorce then. Chin Mo smiled. After what happened just now, how could I bear to? Chapter 47-76. He Huan was exasperated. He was really shameless. Chin Mo smiled again, holding her shoulders and pulling her into his embrace. Did you miss me? No, not any sweet words, but it was so sweet that it couldn't be dissolved. He Huan didn't say anything, burying her face in his embrace, absorbing the warmth from his body. She thought about what he had said to her back then, about how he had ignored her for half a year and how he had blamed her. She felt a little wronged. She didn't say anything, nor did she hug him, merely leaning into his embrace gently. After a while, Chin Mo's bathrobe was wet and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He lowered his head. Why are you crying? Are you too happy? You don't have to cry because your husband dumped you. He Huan glared at him. I'm not. Chin Mo smiled again, not teasing her anymore. He kissed her and got off the bed. I'm going to cook. I'm hungry. He Huan frowned and sat up. At that moment, Chin Mo turned on the light and she immediately hid under the blanket. Chin Mo smiled, picking up his clothes and putting them on nonchalantly. He went downstairs. He Huan was lying on the bed alone, feeling a little bored, so she picked up a document to read. The more she read, the uglier her face became. Chin Mo definitely didn't type every word. It must have been done by the secretary. She didn't even need to think to know that it was Secretary He. She wanted to kill him right now. It was too embarrassing. He Huan got up, put on a shirt and went to the study. She shredded the shameful document with a paper shredder and went back to the bedroom. She couldn't sleep anymore and looked at the time. It was already 9 at night. She had slept for about 4 hours. Unable to sleep, she got up and went downstairs to find Chin Mo. She had something to ask him. For example, his amorous affair. But when she went downstairs, she saw Chin Mo cooking for her in the kitchen. He was wearing a gray sweater and black trousers, looking tall and elegant. But this person had put down everything just to come back and cook for her. Chin Mo seemed to have noticed her. He gave her an apple and said, "Eat this to fill your stomach. Dinner will be ready soon. Let's have Thai food tonight. I'm brewing the soup for the winterine skill." He Huan took a bite of the apple. She wanted to go back to the living room to watch TV, but for some reason, she stayed. It had been half a year since they had been together like this. He asked her if she missed him, but she didn't say. She must have missed him. She couldn't see him. She said the divorce, ignoring the pain in her heart. She made herself think that she didn't care and didn't care. He Huan bit the apple and looked at him. Suddenly, she said, "Let's bring Qin Xian back. I heard that Ai Meng Meng is pregnant. We are more suitable to take care of Qin Xian." Chin Mo nodded and grunted in acknowledgement. She didn't expect him to agree so easily. She was a little happy and took another bite of the apple. Then, bring Shinting and Yi Huan back tomorrow. We can't keep troubling the elders. Chin Mo agreed again, but after a pause, he turned his head and asked her, "Yi Huan, don't you have anything else to say to me?" Yi Huan asked, "What are you talking about?" Chin Mo coughed. "What about me?" Yi Huan took another bite of the apple. "Aren't you staying here?" "Do I need to ask?" "Stay here." Chin Mo really wanted to hear her beg him one more time, begging him not to let go, not to go. Chapter 4777. No matter how slow Huan was, she could probably guess what Qin Mo was thinking. She continued to nibble on the apple while looking at Qin Mo. Qin Mo was quite direct. Am I staying here? You didn't beg me, huh? His metaphor made Huan's face feel like it was burning. It turned red and hot. He was really too shameless. Who begged you? Huan's voice was mixed with the sound of her nibbling on the apple. She muttered, You're the shameless one. That depends on whether you like it or not, huh? Qin Mo seemed to chuckle softly. Then, he turned his head and continued cooking. Since it was for the two of them, he made 3 dishes and a dessert. Moreover, it was the refreshing kind. Huan bit her lower lip. She wanted to say something but swallowed it. When a man and a woman discussed this kind of thing, the woman would always be at a disadvantage because she could never be as thick-skinned as a man. She sat there quietly, and Qin Mo quickly finished cooking. There was also a dessert. As soon as he placed it on the table, Huan wanted to eat it, but Qin Mo gently patted her on the back. He disapprovingly said, I've only eaten 1 apple. This is for after dinner. He used quite a bit of force. The back of Huan's hand actually turned red. However, she didn't get angry. Instead, she seemed to be very happy. She also felt that this happiness was very strange. After being hit, her little temper flared up. She wanted to eat even more. She was certain that he wouldn't hit her again. Qin Mo looked at Huan, who was engrossed in eating. She looked more and more like Huan. He sighed. He reached out and gently rubbed her hair. Look at you. You have no self-discipline at all. What self-discipline? Huan looked up and blinked. I'm working so hard. Can't I eat more? Qin Mo smiled. Is it hard to take care of 2 children, or is it because I'm back that you feel tired? He asked seriously. If Huan didn't understand him, she would have been tricked by him and answered him seriously. But she knew him so well that she wouldn't be fooled. Qin Mo brought the dishes over and opened a bottle of red wine. Huan looked up at him again. Little bee, isn't it? He smiled. Huan scooped another mouthful of dessert into her mouth and said slowly, It's been half a year. President Qin thinks this is just a short separation. Qin Mo gracefully grabbed 2 goblets and poured them for himself and her respectively. As he gracefully made the gesture, he chuckled. It sounds like you are as lonely and tormented as I am. Huan called him shameless again. But no matter how she called him shameless, Huan couldn't refuse the current Qin Mo, whether it was a reunion after a long separation or a new marriage. She didn't know if her body could drink red wine, but it shouldn't be a problem if Qin Mo asked her to drink it. She picked up the goblet and took a sip. After drinking, she looked up and saw his eyes fall on her face. She couldn't help asking him softly, Are you working hard too? Qin Mo smiled. It's not bad. It's much better than those years. At least when you are in B City, I can see you whenever I want. For example, I can always see you from afar when I park my car in a specific place early in the morning. Or when you ask my mother out for tea, I can also see. Huan didn't let him continue. Qin Mo, are you saying these words to please me and make me feel guilty so that I can't bear to drive you away? Chapter 4778. Huan didn't allow him to continue. Qin Mo, are you trying to please me and make me feel guilty so that I won't be able to drive you away? Qin Mo's eyes deepened and his voice became gentler. He chuckled. It's obvious, isn't it? They were eating, but neither of them was in the mood to talk all the time. Some were good, some were bad, some were scolding, and some were trying to please him. In short, the meal lasted for more than 2 hours. They didn't look like an old couple at all. After the meal, Chin Emo packed up his things. Hee-hwan went upstairs to watch TV. She had slept for several hours and wasn't sleepy at all. Her health had improved a lot in the past 6 months. Chin Emo went upstairs. He wasn't interested in the idol drama she was watching, but he still sat beside her and read a business magazine casually. After a while, he flipped it to the cover and found that it was a monthly issue. Chin Emo smiled and glanced at Hee-hwan. Hee-hwan was changing the channel. Her voice was quite impolite. "Why are you looking at me?" Chin Emo smiled slightly. "Why haven't you stopped this? Do you like it? It's too troublesome." Hee-hwan sounded very impatient, but the more she acted like this, the more certain Chin Emo was that she was actually waiting for him. Divorce? Breaking up? It was clearly a child's tantrum. Chin Emo suddenly put down the magazine in his hand and reached out to carry his little fellow over, placing her on his lap. Hee-hwan immediately stuttered and bit her lip. "Chin Emo, what are you doing?" Chin Emo kissed her and said in a hoarse voice, "It's getting late. Go to sleep." She was afraid that he would really carry her back to the room, so she hurriedly said, "I'm not sleepy." Chin Emo raised his hand to look at the time and then said very slowly, "It's almost 12 o'clock. It's not a good habit to stay up late." He really carried her back to the room. Hee-hwan hammered her several times, but to no avail. She was put under the quilt and bit her lip. "I said I don't want to sleep yet." Chin Mo leaned against the headboard, took out his phone, and finished the last bit of work. He said with a faint smile, "Mrs. Chin, don't overthink it. We've been married for so long, we should be asleep at this time." Hee-hwan glared at him. In her innumerable memories, he had always lied with that smile. But not this time. He really felt that she should sleep. Her body had just recovered a little, and he wouldn't let her be weak again. Even if it would be very hard. Chin Emo closed his eyes, reached out his hand, and interlocked his fingers with hers. This was also a very intimate gesture. Hee-hwan couldn't fall asleep. He wanted to talk to her so that she would feel sleepy. "Hee-hwan," he called her. In the darkness, Hee-hwan's voice sounded a little muffled. You don't seem too happy that I'm back." His voice was amused. Hee-hwan's voice was dragged out. "Really?" Chin Mo's smile deepened. "You're obviously not happy. Did I make you unhappy, or did I make you unhappy?" This isn't a repetition, it's 2 meanings. Chinese is broad and profound. Hee-hwan was silent for a long time. Finally, she couldn't bear it anymore and said, "How about I go set off firecrackers now? That way, will President Chin be a little happier?" "Oh, that's not the way to make me happy. You can think about whether there's a better way that doesn't involve so many people and doesn't alarm others. It's a gentler way." Chin Emo seemed to be in a good mood. Chapter 47-79. Hee-hwan only felt that he was boring. Everything about being cold and aloof was fake. He was just shameless. But if she were to ask herself if she was happy, she wouldn't be able to lie to herself. There were only 2 outcomes to her phone call today. Chin Emo would either come back and divorce her as she wished, or they would continue to be an old married couple like this. He still seemed to dote on her a lot. If she had to choose between these 2 outcomes, which one would she choose? Without a doubt, it would be the current situation. How could she have the face to say that she wasn't happy? But she wasn't willing to say it out loud. Juan harumphed lightly and didn't say anything. But in the end, she still placed her little face gently on his shoulder. Chin Emo smiled and asked gently, "Actually, you missed me too, didn't you?" Juan didn't say anything. Not only did she bury her face in his shoulder, but she also hugged his waist gently. She didn't say anything and just hugged him. After a while, he felt the bathrobe on his shoulder getting a little wet. That was when he realized that she was crying. Chin Mo's heart softened. "Why are you crying? Didn't I come back?" Juan's fingers clenched into a fist and she punched his chest. "Chin Mo, you're too despicable." Chin Mo laughed silently. "Yes, I'm despicable. But big director, you still fell because of me, didn't you?" Juan punched him again angrily and indignantly. She said in a muffled voice, "Don't call me big director anymore. Not going out anymore. Not going to be a director anymore. Isn't that your dream?" Chin Mo admitted that he was being a little mean. He shouldn't have provoked her again. However, her reaction was unexpected. She didn't hit him, nor did she cry. She just obediently stayed in his arms. Her small and soft body was warm. Chin Mo waited for a while and couldn't help but lower his head to look. Juan was lying on his chest. Her eyelashes were drooping, and she seemed to be asleep. The bedroom was very dark and he couldn't see her clearly. He only felt that she was very, very obedient. Even the two small hands that were placed flat on his chest were also obedient. His heart was filled with an indescribable feeling. He finally lowered his head and kissed her. "If you don't want to answer, then don't." However, as soon as he finished speaking, she said, "I won't go out anymore." "Huh?" Chin Mo was a little surprised. Juan said softly, "I want to be the mother of Juan, Qin Xian, and Shinting. Then, Chin Mo held back his laughter. "I'll be the children's father." Juan hugged him with her little paws again and stopped talking. Thus, Chin Mo knew that the thing he had been waiting for many years had finally arrived. She said that she would not run away and would stay. He had chased after it for many years, obtained it, lost it, and now he had it back. Finally, he slowly fell asleep as he spoke. When he woke up again, it was a new day. Early in the morning, when Juan woke up, there was warmth beside her. However, Chin Mo wasn't beside her. She was stunned for a moment. As if uncertain, she moved her body to the side and finally laid down on the spot where Chin Mo slept. It was very warm. He should have just woken up. Juan bit her lip and her face was a little hot. There was a chuckle at the door. "Congratulations, Mrs. Chin. You have a husband again." Juan felt that he was really shameless. Chapter 4780. A light chuckle came from the door. "Congratulations, Mrs. Chin. You have a husband again." She snorted. "Should I congratulate you as well?" "That's great." He came over and sat on the bed. "Get up. Let's go pick up Qin Xian first. We'll go to Chiu Garden together later. Shinting and Juan don't have school today." Juan scratched her hair worriedly. "Is Qin Xian okay?" "He's alive and kicking." "What are you worried about?" He tugged her hair out of habit. "Do you not trust me or Qin Chin?" Speaking of this, Chin Mo asked unhappily. "Why are you women so obsessed with Qin Chin? Listen to her." It was true that Qin Chin was handsome, more handsome than most men, and even more handsome than the men in the Qin family. But she was a woman. After he asked the question, Huan stared at him with a strange look in her eyes. Then, she said slowly, because Qin Chen is amazing. It's normal for him to be rich, but not everyone can be the best surgeon in the world. Qin Mo was speechless. Just because of this. Huan smiled and added, because Qin Chen understands women. After saying these warm words, she lifted the blanket and entered the bathroom. She slammed the door shut and locked it from the inside. You know there's something wrong with what you said. Qin Mo sighed. Then, he thought about it and his face turned pale. He thought about all the scenes of Qin Chen feeding his wife. Even though he knew he shouldn't, he couldn't help but say, seducing second sister-in-law. So, during the Qin family's reunion that night, Qin Chen felt cold. After a long time, she realized that it was her second brother who had done this to her. Qin Chen felt that she was wronged. She didn't do anything. Qin Mo withdrew his gaze with satisfaction. He decided to stop sponsoring this guy who seduced his second sister-in-law. He drank such expensive coffee and cultivated his temperament to seduce his second sister-in-law. However, Qin Chen was not afraid at all. Second brother always had something to ask of her. Huan knew nothing about this. Her attention was entirely on Qin Xian. Qin Xian looked fine. Not only was his body healthy, but he also seemed to be mentally unscathed. He did not ask about Ai Jia's whereabouts and seemed to treat this place as his home. Huan was quite happy. But she also knew that Qin Xian's body still had to be taken good care of. After all, he was extremely delicate. If he was in danger again, she really didn't know what would happen. That night, Qin Mo drove home with his wife and child. Just like before, each of them did their own duties and did not say much. It was as if they were born to be like this. It was as if Qin Xian had stayed there for half a year and nothing else had changed. Late at night, Qin Mo returned to the bedroom. Huan also accompanied Huan before returning. The two of them bumped into each other at the bedroom door. Qin Mo rubbed his forehead. Are you tired? Huan also rubbed her forehead. A little. Qin Mo put his fingers on her shoulders. Let me massage for you. Huan raised her eyes and looked at him. We are an old couple. Isn't it normal? He smiled slightly. Huan sat on the sofa and let him stand behind her and massage her shoulders. Suddenly, she thought of something. She slightly opened her eyes. Qin Mo, do you want another child? And, could she give birth to a child? Last night, Huan couldn't say those words, but she knew that he understood what she was saying. You're tuning in to the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.